this lesson, I want to teach you how to make the ciabatta, a good ciabatta dough. The ciabatta we know is a very light bread, big air pocket inside. So I'm going to teach you how to make the proper dough for that. And with that dough, we're going to make two different things. A normal ciabatta, the slipper, we call it in Italian. And also I'm going to add some olive and a tiny bit of fennel seed to it to make some fougasse with it. So same dough, but two different bread, but full of flavor together. To make the good dough, we need to make a biga. The biga is the ferment in Italian, like sponge. It's made with flour, water, and a tiny bit of yeast, and left to ferment overnight for 18 to 24 hours. And then we make the dough on the top of it. So let's make the ferment first. So for the biga, we got our flour, we got strong bread flour in here, our water, and the yeast. And we're just going to crumble the yeast a tiny bit with the flour, so it will all disappear. Mix it together. You could mix it by hand, but if you got a mixer, might as well. I put my water first in the bowl and put the flour on the top. Put the bowl on and now dough hook. And we just leave it mixed there on slow speed. We don't want to make a dough with it. We just want to bring everything together. It's still a bit rough. You'll see what I mean by that. Don't be tempted to beat it up or make a very soft dough with it. This is not the point of that. We want this to ferment and look like a sponge, and actually look like a sponge. I want that texture inside. That's ready now. So I'm going to show you on the table what I mean. Sort them together. That's fine. Still rough, but let's have a look on it on the table. So if you look at this in here, if you look closely, it's still rough, it's not mixed, it's a very, very thick dough. Don't try to overmix it, okay? You can't go wrong with this. And that's all I do to it. Just bring it together a tiny bit, and that's all. That's all it is. Don't force, don't knead, don't do anything like that. And this goes in the bowl now. And cover it with a cloth and leave it at room temperature. It's fine, okay? Ambient. If it's really cold in your kitchen, put a plastic bag over the top also, but you know, it should be fine. So the biga now has been rested for 18 hours. So let's have a look. That beautiful texture. Look at this. That's what I talk about. Stunning, stunning, like a scaffolding. That's going to hold my dough together. The smell is amazing. I love this. So that's going to be our base. We'll put this in a bowl. Our water, we've got some olive oil and some salt, sea salt, flour, and a bit of yeast in here. So let's make some dough now. The first thing I'll do is put my water into the bowl. I use cool water because the mix is going quite long in here. If you put warm water now or hot water, your dough is going to be far too hot. So we use cool water. And my biga is going to go on the top of this. I'm going to rub my yeast and my flour together, like so, and everything on the top of the bowl. And then put the bowl on now. So again, every dough we make on the mixer, form it on slow speed. So we blend everything together properly. And then we can see if there's anything missing or if we need to readjust anything. And then after we go on medium speed on this one. But before we go on medium speed, I will add the olive oil into it, but I'll show you that at the right time. So all the water and flour are all together now. So I'm going to put the olive oil now. If I put the olive oil at the beginning with the water, the olive oil acts like a waterproof coating for the flour, so it's much harder for the water to be absorbed. So it's a good trick when you do high hydration dough to add your water first and your oil afterwards. So we'll start dripping the olive oil in there. So you can see it's sliding everywhere. That's normal, don't worry, it will come together. But all the oil now has been absorbed into my dough. It's not sliding anymore. So I'm going to add the salt now, leave it mix for another minute, and then we'll go on faster speed. So I do the salt halfway through mixing in here. And as soon as you put the salt into your dough, the dough gets sucked up. So you just give you a bit more, less time of mixing, and also it's less white dough. The salt oxidizes your dough and can make it even whiter. So it's a nice trick to do with your dough. So now we're going to go on speed number 4 until the dough is completely clean on the side of the bowl. The mixer is dancing. So you can see now the mixer is really working really hard. A lot of dough in there. I can hear it slapping on the side of the bowl. The bowl is clean inside. So that's a sign, telltale sign of the dough is being ready. If I leave my mixer, it will jump over the table. It was clean on the side. Now we're going to finish it off by hand, add some olive to half of it, and then let it rest. That's where it gets scary, sticky dough. You can see already, it's strong, but it's sticky. So, like we've learned all the time with dough, you cannot put that dough like that to rest just as it is. You need a top, you need a bottom, you need some shape into that dough. So to do that, I'm going to put the dough on the table, no oil, nothing to start with. Let it drop. I'm going to keep my bowl because half of that dough will go back inside with some olive. But look at this first. I want you to see that. Look at this. This will scare a lot of people. But after a few days with me, you'll be fine. This won't stick to your hand again. So how do you do it? Again, get your top and your bottom. Get your scraper, get it together, and show the dough who's the boss. You're the boss, remember that. Put it together, and quickly, your dough will be tame, and this is not sticky now. But there is a sticky side, so your top and bottom again. So my dough there is ready to rest, but I want to put half of that dough full of olive and a bit of fennel seeds. I'm going to cut the dough in half now. Use my scraper, like so. You can see my sticky side is here, so just lift it a bit. That's one half. And the other one. So I'm going to add olive to that half in here. I want a lot of olive in there. So back in the bowl, all the trimming. And I got fennel seed and olive. Why fennel seed? Because it will bring the flavor of your olive. You can put tons of olive, you don't get flavor. Olive and a bit of fennel seed really bring everything together. In the bowl. We mix it on the mixer. So when you add any fillings into a dough, especially with a dough hook, always on slow speed. Always on slow speed. Don't go too fast, you're going to break your dough down. What you want is just to add everything into it. So I'm on slow speed and I stay with the mixer, I'm looking inside what's happened. So when it's all incorporated, I'm happy. I finish it up by hand a tiny bit, and I'll be fine. So my olive are in the dough now. I'm going to finish it up by hand a tiny bit. So the olive makes the dough a bit stickier, like if it was not sticky enough already. But it'll be worth it. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. You can't just put the dough just like that. You need to give a top and bottom to that dough. So with fillings, with your scraper, bring it together and just shape it a little bit. Like so. Here we go. And now we just add a tiny bit of olive oil. So, little drip. Just on top. Squeeze the dough together. And now it doesn't stick at all. It's all one piece. Beautiful. Smell the fennel, the olive, fresh. Same with this one. You just squeeze. The dough is beautiful. Look at this, it's already breathing. Stunning. So I'm going to put this in the bowl now. And then we cover the dough, leave it ambient, room temperature, for a good 2 hours until they really, the dough will balloon. It will be triple in size, you'll see. So our ciabatta has been rested for 2 hours now. So I want to show you this. I can feel the dough. It's ready to come out. It's calling me already. So before I take the dough out of the bowl and cut it in 4, I'm going to flour a board in here. So you can use any big plank of wood. You can use a tray. I love wood, but you don't have to have that. I use a lot of flour because the dough is going to rest on that. Just like so. All that flour, you can use it again. You can brush it off and use it again. So don't worry, it's not going to waste. I'm going to do the same on my table in here. And now we look at the dough. Look at this. How beautiful. Going up and down, breathing, alive. Tiny bit of flour on the top. And I'll tip the dough over. Like so. So remember the top and bottom. The top was on top of my bowl. That's sticky nice in here, that's my bottom. And we keep track of it. More flour. And kind of make a rectangle on the front of you. Just like that. And it's a very simple way of doing it. Cut the dough in half. Half again. So of course you can make 8. You can make smaller size if you want to. But that's a nice size for the family. And then we just lift them up. And our top still underneath, the sticky side up. Because when we go in the oven, we're going to turn them around. Shape them a little bit like that. So that's all there is to it. We're going to leave them ambient at room temperature, covered, about 30 minutes. So you see with the ciabatta, I put quite a lot of flour, which is not like me usually, but for this, you don't want the dough to stick on the board, you don't want the dough to become a nightmare. So the flour there is just to help to manipulate. It doesn't interfere or doesn't affect the texture of the ciabatta. It's just for the outside, for the aesthetic. So before I do the fougasse with the olive, I'm going to brush this off and use a different flour. But let me clear this up and then show you which flour I'm going to use for that. So I brush this off on the side. Like I said, you can use that flour again, so there's no waste at all. So a very useful tool is to have a brush. Don't put water near the flour. Here we go. So for the fougasse, I'm going to use one of my favorite flour. It's yellow. It's very fine polenta. Maize meal, corn meal, we call it. It just gives you a nice finish on your bread. I use it quite a lot for different type of bread, but it's just a finish. You can do the ciabatta with that as well. It looks fantastic. So let me bring the dough. So you can see again, you can see the dough screaming to come out. Come on, play. Here we go. Bubbly, gassy, full of olive. I can smell the olive and the fennel. Amazing. So let's get the table ready first. And the difference also with the ciabatta, we're going to turn the dough over, and then we're going to cut it straight away and bake it straight away. And you see the gas inside will expand very quickly, and then we can just make some beautiful fougasse. Again, I don't skimp on the flour. Look at this. Love bubbles. It's tempting, isn't it? You want to burst them. They grow and grow like magic. Look at this. Loving it. The smell of olive oil. Oh, magical. So my dough is here. Beautiful. Again, we don't do anything. Just flour on the top, and we cut the fougasse straight from that. So I cut in half. And I pull the extremity, so I got two nice big triangles in here. The typical shape of the fougasse. Now the fougasse, what it means from the Latin, fougasse start with the letter F-O. In Latin, it's like fire, fougasse, focaccia. They're all same flatbread base. And this used to be made for the big wood-fired oven. Back in the old days when they had those big ovens, there was no little light or thermometer on the side. So they used to cut a piece of dough like that, throw them in the oven, and how quick the piece of dough were baking, they could judge the temperature of the oven. So now you see them hanging in windows, in shops, they're very fashionable. But it's a beautiful little bread. So when you cut your fougasse, nice straight cut. Big cut, be bold. Like so. Little flames. And leave them up onto the board. Don't need steam on this one, straight on the oven. So make sure it doesn't stick, and we go straight in the oven. So, to bake my fougasse, I'm on really, really high oven. You want the oven to be really, really hot. Imagine a wood-fired oven bursting with heat. You want it to bake very, very quickly, like a flatbread. So I'm on 230, 240, the high as I can in here. You notice I didn't put steam on this one. You don't need steam. They bake very fast, the crust will form quickly, and I want that crunchiness onto them. And there's olive inside and so on, so it'll be fine. So 230, really high oven, on a stone or a tray upside down, and you'll be absolutely fine. Take a few minutes, 10, 12 minutes max. And I will eat. Who's hungry? Look at this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Nice, nice fougasse. I always create the smile of the fougasse. When you make your first fougasse at home, you always smile. Just can't wait to put my teeth into this now. Bon appétit. So our ciabatta now, I've rested for half an hour on the board. So I remember we turn the dough over, bit of flour, cut them in four, and then put them on the board there. So have a look now. They're just just nice and bouncy still, and they're perfect for the oven. So my oven is really, really hot now. I'm on 230, baking stone are ready. I'm going to put them on the board, stretch them gently, put them on the board, and put them in the oven with a bit of steam in there. So what I do, I just have them there. So my top is still underneath. I turn them on the board, and now you can see the stripe coming up. Leave them, take the excess flour out, and then don't put your thumb on top. Just stretch them gently there, and on the board. So turn them over. Excess flour, gentle stretch. Like this. And just a gentle stretch. Don't put your thumb, you don't mark them, just gentle stretch there. Place them on the board. You can see the dough is alive, it's beautiful. So turn them over and just leave them up and a gentle stretch underneath. Good, so the ciabatta on the board now. Now we need to go quickly in the oven, open the door, on the board, lot of steam, close the door, and then we'll have beautiful ciabatta. Right, full steam ahead. A lot of steam, really, really hot baking stone. My oven is at 230 degrees. That's the highest I can get on this one. They're very light, the ciabatta, so they bake very quickly. In about 7 minutes, we'll have a look at them. I'm going to show you the part baked. So it's a great way of freezing bread if you need to. So we'll have a look in a minute. So ciabatta. This is what I call part baked, 3/4 baked. So that's a great way to freeze bread at home. So if you make a big batch where you learn a lot more handling the dough, then you can freeze some. So you get some fresh bread all the time. So you can see there, the crust is forming already, but it's still very, very soft. It's not crusty as such. So that's a good way of freezing bread. So back in the oven for a few minutes. Look at this. So you can see the color on this now. So I showed you light baked earlier, but now you can see the difference in color. So they went back for an extra 5 minutes. Again, it's your choice. You can just put them a bit less or a bit longer if you want to, depending on how crusty you want them. But use your eyes. Every oven is slightly different, so don't be hung up by a time exactly. Use your instinct, use your eyes and your smell also. Okay? If it's black, it's burnt, so always a bit less, remember that. You can see the crust underneath. Bit of a crunch and a stripy, beautiful. And they're light as a feather. I call them angel bread, very, very light. That's my first two. And the other one now should be ready too. Here we go. Steamy. So you can see the difference on the color now. Much brown, beautiful. And a beautiful crunch on them. They will soften. There's oil in the dough, so they will soften a bit. And that's one of the beautiful ciabatta.